since the other year.
Yeah, so thank you so much for giving us this platform, and we hope that we'll learn one or two things together.
It's a pleasure that you did honor our invitation to appear on this edition of The Assignment.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Those joining us on the Muvi TV Plus, Bouquet Channel 1, the Top Star Decoder Channel 104, you'll be able to come through and give us your contributions and comments via the number that is scrolling down your TV screen. Yet those that are joining us from across the continent of Africa, use social media platforms. Our handle is Ask Movie TV on Facebook and YouTube. Get to those two particular platforms and give us your comments regarding this particular important topic that we're looking at tonight. We're looking at the state of governance. Mr. Chipenzi, right before we can get to the SONA speech and dissect each particular issue that the president did highlight on that particular day of the 12th of February, allow me to congratulate you, first of all, for successfully running the UPND intra-party elections. You are the now former commissioner. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank
and maybe
you.
just as we begin, how would you describe how that particular election went?
Well, I think from our as former commissioners and people who handled that election, we feel that it went on very well. I think for the first time, we saw that a political party can be peaceful and allow a calm atmosphere during elections. To me, I think that is a plus to the party that was holding that convention or the General Assembly. And two, there were a lot of expectations, especially from the arch rivals, who thought that perhaps there would be fights before and during and post the elections. But I can assure you that everything was calm. The results were out within record time. Of course, others were saying they delayed, but I don't think that they did, because it was only about 30 hours after the voting. And we are dealing with 157,000 voters, ballots. All right, and we had about 208 candidates, So it was really a marathon, but at the end of the day, what was expected was delivered. And no one has really lodged a complaint, which means that it was successful, because others would have a lot of complaints here, petitions here and there. So that shows you that we handled the election very well, and everyone was satisfied. If there are any who are not satisfied, perhaps there are minor issues, which I think they thought they cannot take waste their time on. Yeah.
A number of people felt, a bit. It was a bit unusual why the results did come in late. Others are gone ahead to allege that there was a bit of some doctoring of the results that was happening, and that is the reason why you could not release the results in 24 hours. You argue that you had a lot of is it delegates?
Yeah.
Yes, but a national election doesn't take that much. Like you.
No. I think those are people who don't understand the elections and how the practice has been. Actually, in the national election, you are talking about 3, 4, 5 days. If I explain to you, the convention started on Sunday, okay, and the whole morning was their internal issues, including the approval of the Constitution. We started the vote. Actually, we dissolved the NMC, the old NMC, around 14:50, somewhere there. And the election started at 11 hours. All right? That is on Sunday. I hope you are getting me.
Yes, I'm getting it.
Which means that 24 hours was on Monday, 11 hours. That was 24 hours. And on Tuesday, by 6, 7 hours, we had all the results. So we are waiting now just for ceremonies, closing ceremonies. And closing ceremonies, if you send your people there, they started arriving around 9 hours. And we are ready to give the results. Above all, when people say that the results delayed, against what? Okay? Because you can only delay the results against the law of that party, or indeed against the practice of that party. So if you are able to say you have delayed against the law, because the law says within 24 hours you have to deliver the results. Now, if there is no law that compels you to deliver the results in 24 hours, it means now you go back, you go to the next thing, which is the practice. Mm-hmm. How has been the practice? Has the practice been that within 24 hours the results are out? That is another practice, which is not true. Okay? So it means that those who are alleging that the results delayed, they have no basis at all to measure that delay against something. So in terms of the national election, we have something to measure. I think according to, unless the laws, the regulations have changed, okay, the elections are supposed to be announced within 5 days. Within 5 days. So if they go beyond 5 days, it means that they have delayed. We have a measure against the delay. But in this case, there was no measure against the delay.
So there's no constitutional provision?
There is no constitutional provision that tells you that within 24 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, or something like that, you have to deliver the results. There's nothing. So we did our work knowing that we have to deliver the results. And above all, when you compare it with the national election, if you go in all these polling stations, you find that there are about 4, 5 polling assistants, polling officers. But in this case, and have never been dirty, what has been dirty and always will be dirty are the players. Okay? So politics is ever clean. But those who jump into politics are dirty. So politics have now to start cleaning those dirty people. And we shall always have dirty people in politics. Ever and always have dirty people in politics. And this is why you find that now people are saying, why are these people donating money? Why are those are dirty tactics in politics. But not that politics are dirty. No, it's individuals. So that's why we need laws in our electoral processes that can deal with those dirty individuals, wash them, clean them, and throw them in politics which are clean.
Probably that's the reason why we're coming to the State of the Nation address, by the president on, on the performance of our national values. Now, we do know for a fact that, the principles or the values that we have, that the president was weighing against on whether we're doing good or not, was morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance, integrity, and sustainable development. Let's get to critical morality and ethics. The president did highlight that we've declined, in terms of upholding to our moral values. Let's begin with this particular issue of morality and ethics. How would you describe how our country, from your own perspective, and maybe comparing to what the president said on how we've done thus far as a country?
Very true. I agree with the president. It is very true that we have declined in our moral values, principles, practices, and so on and so forth. And there are so many reasons for that decline in the moral values. We have embraced westernization, Western culture. And Western culture has its own values, which is incompatible with the African culture. And because of that, the decline is measured from an African culture and not from a Western culture.
Of course.
So when we say our values have declined, it means that the way we used to practice as Africans, if you remember, Andrew, I don't know where you grew up from, but me, I grew up from the Gwembe Valley, and in the rural Gwembe Valley, if I'm riding a bicycle and I see elderly people coming on my way or towards me, I have to come off my bicycle and allow the elderly pass. That was our culture. That was our custom. That was our value, respecting the elders. If I'm putting on a cape and the elders are coming, I have to remove my cape, all right? And give respect to the elders who are coming. Today, is it happening? No. You find people with capes, and you'll be talking with an elderly person in a cape. Those days, it was immoral for me to come back home at 22 hours because I'd gone to play with friends. No, it was not a right thing to do. Even when there is a boyfriend, a girlfriend that I have hooked, I will not be kissing that girlfriend in public before my parents, my elders. No, it was a taboo. Today I've seen these young people doing whatever they want to. In a bus, they are busy fondling each other, and there are elders there. Elders just keep like this.
Probably
so those are the declining
but
morals.
Yes, but let's get to what the president said in terms of
against the culture.
Let's get to what the president attributed to as reason why, and he sees as evidence why, according to him, and according to research, we've declined in our moral values. The president attributed to, the high prevalences of gender-based violence, child marriages, teenage pregnancies, alcohol abuse, and most of us social media. But he did say we'll talk about the social media later on, and I want to keep social media for a later time as well. Let's get to talk about these very important issues that the president, highlighted on: high prevalences of gender-based violence, child marriages, teenage pregnancies, and alcohol abuse.
Look, those are effects. Those are effects. Those are fruits of the problem. The problem is the degradation of our culture. Okay? The degradation of our culture. That is the root cause of those things. So the president is researching on the fruits. How are the fruits born? But he's not researching, or whoever was giving him that report, he was not to say, what is the cause of these effects? Gender-based violence doesn't happen like that. Why is it that now people fight? Why is it that these days there are more divorces than ever before? It's not the divorce which is a problem. And it's not the prevalences of the gender-based violence which is the problem. Those are effects. What people, social scientists, should now start digging is what is causing gender-based violence. Well, that's a fruit.
Of course.
You can remove gender today you arrest all those who are involved in gender violence, it will still be born. And you still have more being injected in society. So let's find, so those things that the president talked about are effects of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is the devaluation of our cultural values.
Devaluation of our cultural values. Do you think the current administration is doing enough to arrest, this decline in our moral fibers as a country?
No. It's not doing a lot. It's not doing a lot. The problem that we have in our country, and perhaps in Africa, is that we feel that punitive measures, arrests, long jail sentences will solve the problem. That's not the issue. In the olden days, even a thief would be sat, cancelled, and that person will stop what they are doing. There will be few who will persist to do what they have been told not to do. All right? One of my chiefs told me to say, look, these days, thieves run to people, towards people. Those days, a thief would run in the bush, and people run after that thief. Okay? So, and also thieves used to steal far away. When they come in the village, no one knows that they are thieves. Even the relatives, the siblings, the friends, even the elders will say, that one is not a thief. Because they were doing those things Today, a thief will be stealing just in your own house. Your child will be stealing in your own house. You have no say. And you leave that. That person grows and start now breaking other people's homes. So the cultural values we have thrown through the window is what has caused all these problems that we have. We have customs. Where are they today? We have traditions. Where are they today?
The government says it has done
We are
enough,
actually above
really.
all, Comrade Andrew. We are even a Christian nation. And a Christian has got all those parameters that they are not supposed to indulge in. Okay? But today, if you talk about Zambia and compare that or judge Zambia against the Christian principles, you will see that Zambia is perhaps at the bottom of being a Christian nation. Because it's, of course, Christianity is like politics.
Of course.
Christianity is a very good religion. Me as a student of world religion, studies in world religion, I understand that Christianity is one of the religions in the world that teaches about morals.
The president argues otherwise in his speech. Well, he says that, there's been countrywide, sensitization campaigns and awareness, and he did really add numbers to his speech. He says in the last 4 years, over 85,000 cases of gender-based violence were reported across the country. In 2017, a total number of 21,504 cases were reported. The cases reported in 2018 were 22,073, while in 2019 were about 25,121 cases were reported. By the third quarter of 2020, 17,000 cases had been reported for defilement alone. The country recorded over 8,000 cases in the last 4 years. And the increase in the reporting of these cases shows clearly that the awareness campaigns that government has been rolling out across the country have really been working.
Of course. And this is why we have said we are resolving effects and not root cause. Okay? These days, there are very few people who accept to live within what they have. They would want to eat pizza when they cannot even manage derere from Soweto. Okay? And because of that, they either engage in extra activities that are inimical to their relationships and start fighting. Okay? So those figures that the president gave are an indicator that we need to do more to resolve the root cause of those problems. Figures alone, this issue of, they say, no, it's civic education. Which civic education? If I'm, like the way I'm speaking here on Muvi TV, you have a defined audience, isn't it?
Of course.
A defined audience. Maybe you are reaching 2 million people. And how many millions do we have in Zambia? 17.9 million, according to Zamstat. 17.9 million people. So if you have reached 2 million, and there is no replication of the message, it means that that message will remain with the 2 million. The other 15.9 million will be in the dark. And if you go in the rural areas, usually, we are in the advocacy field. You find that you only go in civic centers of those towns. If I say I'm going to Siavonga, it will be in civic center. I will not reach Shianyol. I will not reach Dambwe. I will not reach Munyama. Okay? And there are also people in that areas. And those people, they don't have access even to radio, even to TV. Very few with the TVs. So you find that majority individuals, we are saying that 61% of Zambia is rural. Okay? So it means that only 39 of Zambians are in the urban areas. And within that urban areas, there are those who are in peri-urban areas, who have also difficulties to access these things the way the rural of the ruralist have difficulties to attain. So the advocates, the civic education has not really permeated in all areas. And this is why we expect that like the institution like Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation should have been one of the institutions that just deliberately put civic education as their own baby, mainstream it in all its programming. And you would have seen that people would actually tune into ZNBC because they have these variable social teachings in their programming. But if for me to do civic education on moral values, I have to pay. And only a few people who they think the friends of the whatever come to do that, then there's a problem. This is a national disaster. And if we are not careful, in the next few years, Zambia's moral standing will be a disaster, a serious disaster. We will be like Sodom and Gomorrah, as prescribed in the Bible. That's my prediction.
Probably
and you call me Prophet Mcdonald.
Chipenzi, probably
Yes.
because we've lost our, we've lost the aspect of patriotism as a country, which brings me to the second issue that is very important as one of our pillars to our national values, patriotism and national unity. Are you satisfied with what the president had to say regarding our patriotism and national unity?
Well, he touched a bit of it, and he had a point with what he said. But I think, for me, why I have challenges with what the president usually says is that he seemed to be so helpless, and yet...
What do you mean helpless?
He seemed to be as helpless as you and me, who cannot do anything to all these malaise that are threatening national unity and patriotism. Okay? Why I'm saying so is that you have heard the president says, I condemn violence. Okay? I condemn violence. He ends there. Now, who will act on that condemnation? Is it not him? And he even goes to say, even my colleagues in the opposition should condemn violence. Is that the solution? No, it's not the solution. The solution is the president, who is the chief of the armed forces, to act. Because within the country, we have a wing of government, a state institutions, that is there to do what? To maintain law and order, okay? To protect life and property. So if people are involving in violence, where is this institution to act? I expect the president, who is not helpless like me and hopeless like me, to say, I command the police to arrest anybody who is involved in violence. And if I hear that this person, or there has been violence there, and no one has been arrested, I will fire you. I will fire you as a commanding officer, as officer commanding, as officer in charge. You will go. You will see how disciplined people will be. Recently here, is it in Porokoso, where cadres went there to disrupt Harikaraba, this radio program. Went there, literally went there, and the police went there just to cordon the station and leave the cadres like that. Can you end violence like that? You can't. So this is where we are saying, yes, he's talking about those things.
Of course.
But why doesn't he walk the talk? He's not like me, who cannot command the police to do what they are supposed to do. He has that power to command. If today he commands that the police should come here, they will come and do what they want to.
One of the key issues that the president said was that it is a responsibility of the church, civil society organizations, political players to protect the image of this country, because we're all bound to protect the image of this country. And it says, look, there are people that speak ill about this country, and those are the ones that are destroying the image of this country. Now, the question that many ask, Mr. Chipenzi, is that where do we draw the line between being patriotic and speaking the truth?
Look, Comrade Andrew, patriotism is to the country, is to the state. Patriotism is not to the individual. What we are seeing now today is that we are so patriotic to an individual and not to the country. And that's where we have missed the word patriotism. If we are patriotic to this country, some of these Malays, these institutions of governance, would not have allowed them to be where they are. For example, you have people who openly says that this tribe, why are you singing this song in this tribe, in this language? Is that not dividing the country? What is wrong if you speak your mother tongue? If I don't understand, I bring an interpreter. Andrew, you are speaking in your mother tongue. Me, I don't understand. Who else understands this? Okay, this one, come and explain to me. If you cannot speak in the other language. If I speak my own language, what is wrong with that? This is why in our national anthem, there is a stanza that says, one land and one nation is our cry. Dignity under the skies of Zambia is what we are looking for. I should not discriminate you because you are speaking a language that I don't understand. I should not discriminate you because you were born in Chirubi and I was born in the Gwembe Valley, and therefore we can discriminate each other. That is not patriotism to the country. Patriotism to the country is to unite the country. If there are opportunities, we all share the opportunities. The moment you become what we call in my language, where I come from, Nchererebula, meaning that you are now feeding your own belly and not other people's belly, then you are not a patriot. You are a glutton, and you.
And my question again, Mr. Chipenzi, was where do we draw the line between being patriotic and, I don't know which right word I could use, and being truthful, because we've heard from those that are in government that those that are pro-civil society organizations that are pro-opposition have a tendency of speaking ill about government. I don't know, and he says that, look, through the use of social media, you've sold the country with a negative image.
No, I wanted to respond to that. It's not us or them that are selling this country negatively. It is the actions. We are a global world. We have social media now. You can't hide anything. Okay? So the way you act is what sells you. For example, people are saying if you talk about debt when you go out, then you are tainting the image of who? The country. Is it not true that we are indebted? It is true. Is it that our morals are declining? It's true. The president is confirming that and admitting. So where is the problem? Why should I be accused of denting the image of the country when facts are facts?
But then how do we then strike a balance, really? Because at the end of the day, again, we want to ensure that we protect the image of this country, because we only have one country. How do we strike a balance between being truthful with facts? Yes, for example, it's not daydreaming that the state of our economy is not doing well. It's not daydreaming that there's high levels of poverty in this country. But then how do we then strike a balance between being truthful and being truthful with what is going on in our country, and at the same time being patriotic? Is there a way we can strike a balance to ensure that we do not injure the country even as we go ahead and speak these truths?
Any patriot is a free man, a free woman, a free young person, and so on. That's what patriotism is all about. You must be free. This is your country, and protect your country. And the Bible clearly states you shall be free when you tell the truth. Okay, it's only the truth that sets you free. So if we are enslaved because we want to hide the truth in the name of patriotism, that is not patriotism. Patriotism is freedom. Patriotism is protecting your country from external aggression. Now, in our country, I can say that all Zambians are patriotic because no one has brought in guns in the country from outside to fight Zambia. All we have heard now are imaginaries. Oh, there are guns there, they rush. Nothing. From UNIP times. Okay? Even Mushala, who fought a civil war or something like that in northwestern province, he never went in Angola to bring guns and fight. He was fighting within the country. That is patriotism. These politicians you are seeing, some of them have been harassed several times. You have not heard that they have airlifted their families into America and then they come back. No. They have continued to live with their children, with their spouses, with their relatives here in Zambia. And they are fighting a political battle. That is patriotism. Anyone who is not patriotic, they would have flown away. They would have been speaking in Angola or in Malawi. But where are they? They are all here. And you see how they are being harassed. Today you are arrested. Tomorrow you are searched. The other day you are what? But they have never run away. That is patriotism. Patriotism to the country and not to an individual. The challenge that we have now, the issue of balancing the truth and patriotism, is that people think that when you speak the truth,
you're not being patriotic.
You are not being patriotic. Because we have become brethren in lies. We feel that when you lie, you become more patriotic. When you say that, oh, the economy is doing very fine, everyone, and especially now that you have these politicians dishing out money, the economy is doing fine. But just nearby the same politician who's dishing out money, there is a person who has not had food. And again, you cannot be a country of handouts. Your own country as a country, the whole Minister of Finance and the whole President, they are begging. Again, in country, there is begging. Surely, can you call yourself an independent country? No. And can you call that there's patriotism there? No. How did we find ourselves begging from 1964? Sure. Even you, Andrew, you were begging for your mother's milk. I was begging my mother's milk. All right? It came a time when my mother said, wakula manje. Now you'll be feeding on porridge and hard stuff, food, or shima. Until such a time, again I was begging from my mother. If my mother doesn't cook, I'm stuck. If I don't work, she says, or my father says, no, you will not eat because you didn't go to head animals. I will be stuck. But again, it reached a point where I was not waiting for my father to give me food. I became independent. It reached a point where my father could not sponsor me to school because I was now an adult. I must sponsor myself to school. It's like now, if I want to go and do a degree in whatever, then I go to my father and say, my father, I'm now doing a degree. Can you give me money for school fees? Am I being... This is exactly what we are doing now. Zambia has been independent from 1964. And up to now, we are still crying to IMF, World Bank, America, UK, German. And when you hear that 85 million euros have been given to Zambia, donated to Zambia, see how leaders become so excited. For me, I must be. I'm very sad. I'm a sad person.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
57 years, we are still begging.
Tell me if I'm wrong. If I heard you really quite well. So, are you telling us that in terms of patriotism, we've done well as a country?
Yes, we have done well. We have done well. We have been very patriotic. Even
so the president speaking about the misuse of social media, it was just illusions from his head.
No, I mean, how has the social media been misused? If I ask, how?
You've been portraying a good image about this country.
What good image can you portray other than being a Zambian and continue to speak about issues affecting Zambia, where you are, in your own country? Maybe those who have run away, who are in diaspora, and they have been pushed by other factors to be in diaspora. Someone maybe can say they are not patriotic, but not Zambians who have remained.
Probably that's
here.
the reason why the president, and maybe it dives us now into the issue of cybersecurity and cyber crimes bill of 2021. The president feels like there's need to clamp down those that are busy in social media, those that have been unpatriotic to this country by portraying an image that is not even there in this country. Let me get your reaction to what the president said in terms of the introduction of the cybersecurity and crimes bill.
Well, to me, I don't think it's necessary to have that bill. I don't think it's necessary.
Why is it so? Don't you think, Mr. Chipenzi, the digital space has now become not so safe for everybody? Personally, I've seen people that literally were being bullied on social media.
I'm one of them.
All right?
Yes, I get bullied or bullied. On social media, I have fake news running around.
I've seen the president of this republic getting bullied on social media.
Yeah. I mean, what is democracy all about? Okay? In a democracy, you have bullies. Yes, we have bullies in a democracy. We have bullies. And that's why this constitution has all protective measures for bullies or against bullies, for patriots and those who are non-patriotic. Okay? And this is why in Article 2, the Constitution gives you the mandate to protect, defend, and resist anyone who wants to violate this Constitution. Okay? Now, when you are talking of social media, I read the paragraph where the president was saying, here we come. Okay? It's like now a lorry is coming and people are just seated on the floor, on the road. And you say, okay, wait, here we come. A lorry running speed and in an effort to hammer all those that are seated there. That is what this cyberspace is, the cyber security and crimes bill is all about. It is another public order act, but in the cyber space.
In the digital space, you mean?
In the digital space, okay? That is exactly, because now they have seen that people have run away. They are no longer interested in these meetings. Like now we have these virtual meetings and so on and so forth. They're saying, no, go ahead. We are not interested in those. We are having WhatsApps now, where we can meet, we can express ourselves, we can assemble, we can associate, we can move from one side, from one WhatsApp group to another. Freedom is assured there. But because regimes are afraid of freedoms of individuals, when people start thinking critically, they feel that they are being threatened. Okay? They want people to be colonized in the mind. And this is why you find that when elections come, because they have put you in a poverty cycle, in a poverty ball, they will know that when they go there with food, you will not even know which hand you have touched, whom you have given the card, and how you have voted, because your mind has been colonized. And this is why now, when the cyber issue comes, They are saying, no, let's follow them in the cyber and deal with them. Because now the Public Order Act is becoming a redundant act. It is becoming a redundant act. Everyone is going virtual. Okay? See, the conventions are now virtual. Okay? So now that's where they are going. So that they monitor what you are doing.
They monitor the abusers of social media.
It's not that. If I read an article here, a section here, it should be section 26, if I'm not mistaken, where it's clearly stating that they will be monitoring you. Okay? They will be monitoring you and intercepting your
of course, I did
34.
read that. With proper
Let
grounds.
me just read
with
34.
proper grounds, of course. Yeah.
Let me read you. I think it should be 34, section 34 of this act, or this section 34 of this act or bill. Sorry, it says an electronic communication service provider, which means Zamtel, Airtel, and MTN, isn't it?
Of course.
These are the providers. Or others, I don't know, shall not utilize the service of observing or randomly monitoring except for mechanical or service quality control checks. Okay? Here it is giving you all the what you need about this. Now, it says no monitoring in this case. But when you go into 36, it again gives you some interception issues continue to appear in the whole thing. So when you go to 40, I think 51, if I'm 54, if I'm not mistaken, it gives you again where it now spells out what you are supposed, what you are not supposed to do. 54, I think. Sorry, yeah, 54. I hope I have here. Yeah. So a person who within intent to compromise the safety and the security of any other person publishes information or data presented in a picture, image, text, symbol, voice, or any other form in the computer system, whether such information or data is false, deceptive, misleading, or inaccurate, commits an offense and is liable upon conviction 500,000 penalty units or to imprisonment of a term not less than 5 years or to both. Now,
what is wrong with that?
Look, misleading information. Who defines misleading? Is misleading defined in this act? In this section, in this bill? No. False. What do you mean by false?
Incorrect information.
To who? And for who? And on what? For example, this section 54 is a replica of section 67 of the Penal Code. Section 67 of the Penal Code, under which I was arrested myself and spent 4 days at Central Police in the cells for being accused that I issued a false or published a false statement that was likely to alarm the nation. All right? Or alarm the public. Now, this is now another way of bringing section 67 of the Penal Code that was nullified by the courts in 2014, in my case when I was acquitted. Now, in that judgment, the judge, then the late Judge Charlie, was very clear that how would you define falsity? And why should freedom of expression only be talking about the truth? And who defines the truth anyway? All right? So, this one will cause arbitrary arrests. arbitrary arrests. Because now, when you say something else, something that is not what government thinks, they will come and clamp you to say, this was false information, and you'll be arrested. And this also sits against the provisions of Article 20 of our Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights. We have not changed the Bill of Rights. We have not changed. It's still the same. Now, if the Bill of Rights is still the same, and let me read it. That is Article 20 of our Constitution, of the Bill of Rights. And you know that the Bill of Rights are the most important rights that we have in the country and must be protected at every time. So, Article 20 of the Bill of Rights says, except with his own consent, except with your own consent, a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression. And that is...
But of course they should be responsible, Mr.
Look,
Chipenzi.
this is the same article under which Section 67 was nullified. That it doesn't sit well in a democratic society where you and me are supposed to enjoy the freedom of expression. And says, shall not be hindered to enjoy his freedom of expression, that is, to say freedom to hold opinions without interference. Freedom to receive ideas and information without interference. Ideas and information without interference. This bill is talking about intercepting your information, intercepting information, monitoring information, and that these providers should now send that information to the Central Monitoring Center, which is a state-owned center. They will intercept, and if you broke the interception as a provider of information or a service provider, then you have committed an offense. And you will be liable upon conviction 500,000 units. Now it goes on to say, freedom to receive idea and information without interference, freedom to impart and communicate ideas and information without interference. Whether the communication be to the public generally or to any person or class of persons, and freedom from interference with his correspondence. This is what the Constitution says. Then the bill goes on to say they will intercept your correspondence for public order, for whatever. And if you read that judgment, I would encourage you to read that judgment as you discuss the cyberspace. Mcdonald Chipenzi and two others versus the people. It will give you that this bill is basically violating the Bill of Rights. Until and when we change the Bill of Rights, this bill is sitting wrongly and must be rejected.
What do you think is the intention of this particular?
This is basically to gag you. This is basically to monitor the opponents and those who are critical of government. That is why it has been brought here. Nothing else. Okay? And also, above all, is this issue of copy and paste.
Some believe that there's just this particular mistrust that certain civil society organizations and certain individuals have created in the state. You do not just no longer trust the state. Whatever bill they bring about, your direct thought is they are trying to clamp down the freedoms of expression, especially from those with opposing views.
Well, you see, The state
But maybe also, where do you think this mistrust is really coming from?
it's because the government itself doesn't trust itself with the information it gives us. Okay? It doesn't. For example, let's talk about COVID-19. They say COVID-19 is deadly, stay home, work from home, and practice social distance. Isn't it?
Mm.
Immediately after announcing that, the president flies to Muchinga, meeting chiefs, government officials, cadres, and so on and so forth. Would you trust such a person? No, you can't. So this is why, first of all, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. Government must create mechanism and environment to be trusted. You
Ultimately,
talk about
from what the president and the chief government spokesperson, Honorable Celia, said was, we're trying to promote the proper use of social media. You did highlight to me that you've been a victim of cyberbullying,
yes,
and I do know a number of people on social media, specifically Facebook, where they are openly bullied. Don't you think, a safety space is needed for those who are perpetrators, of bullying, to ensure that we clamp them down? What is wrong with, if you insult me, Mr. Chipenzi, on social media, what is wrong with government or the state coming to arrest you?
Why should you use the state to arrest me when you yourself has got the power, the authority, and the space to sue me for insulting you? Why should we give all this?
So there's already provision for all these things.
That's why we're saying, if there's anything that government should do, which is in the already existing laws here, is that if I injure you personally, you take me to court for libel. There's the law of libel, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Criminal and civil libel. Is that there? Why don't you take me to court? Why should you wait the government to take me to court on your behalf? Okay? This is where we have these problems now, where now people are being killed because they have to escort somebody to court, to police. The police now acting as individuals, and not those who are affected by the issue. What I'm saying here is the issue of like HH and the Karomo farm. They are those people, if they have a complaint, why should the state start getting into there? Let them sue that person, let them go to court and resolve the issue to court. So if I injure you, then the state comes and says, no, you have injured Andrew. And therefore, they become the complainant.
Maybe the difficulty here is also, we do know, some pages on social media and some individuals that propagate lies, all right? And these are individuals that it's very hard, for you to get a hold of them. So probably maybe the interception of communication maybe comes from the fact that it is very difficult now to catch Mr. Chipenzi if he insults me.
I don't agree with that. You see, Andrew, the issue of a state is a complicated institution, statecraft. It's a course on its own, statecraft, how the state operates. And for the state to say, I cannot know where Andrew lives in this time and era, then it's a joke. It's a big joke. The state knows that. I think you remember what late Michael Sata said one time. He said, I think one of the chiefs, he told one of the chiefs that, I even know what you are doing in your bedroom. You remember that statement?
Of course, I remember.
Yes, that is how the state works. There's nothing that you can hide from the state. There's nothing. Even when you hear the state saying, we don't know the owner of these 48 houses, you start laughing. Is that the state? Or these are jokers? How can you fail to know a person right now? even when
Probably now,
I'm moving
the state
here,
wants to empower itself so that it is doing everything
Even
within the
now-
legal provisions
even now as
to
it-
intercept if Mr. Chipenzi insults, or the state has got reasonable grounds to investigate Mr. Chipenzi. They can intercept your communication, trail and easily see what you've been doing. Probably that's what the state wants to do now.
comrade, the state, as we are speaking now, has got all those powers. The only thing that we have done, which we have actually perhaps not done very well, is that we have put people into positions that they are not competent. And this is why you find now people, the state, going all the way to Shibuyunji on a false alarm. Okay? The state is right at where that village was. The state is there. It's there. So for you to drive from here, Lusaka, to go and check weapons in Shibuyunji is a sign that there's incompetence somewhere else within the state system. Something somewhere is not correct. Are you getting that point? So it means that if the state wants, even now as we are speaking, these phones that we have, some of them they have GSP. They even locate. Sometimes when you call somebody, it even writes there Zambia. Sometimes it will write Lusaka, showing you that where you are calling is from Lusaka. So it's not about lack of laws. Even now, the law gives, the Constitution itself gives the state the power to get a search warrant. And there are some offenses where the state cannot even, does not even need a search warrant to come and search your premise. It's here a movie. Were you not closed at one point? You were. The state just surrounded this place. Did they need this bill? No. But because we are going towards the elections, they want to be monitoring Facebook, they want to be monitoring WhatsApps, they want to be monitoring internet, perhaps even shut it down if they want towards the elections, like what happened in what? This bill is a public bill. And we expected that a lot of talk, consultations, consensus would have been built because it affects everyone, even the unborn baby. And you can't rush it like any ordinary bill. You can't. You need to consult. You need to agree. You need to sort out some of these things. Why are we bringing these things? But you can't bring the bill today and tomorrow you want to enact it. This I can assure you. Whether it's before it is enacted or after it is enacted, there will be a lot of litigation on this bill because it violates the Bill of Rights.
What should be the way forward?
The way forward is that government should come to the drawing board, consult as many stakeholders as possible. For example, we have the NGO bill that we have been consulting from 2018 with the government, and we are agreeing. I don't understand whether this has become so urgent.
But you agree with me, Mr. Chipenzi, that this is not a new phenomenon. I think the pushing of this cybersecurity and crimes bill started in 2017.
But we didn't even have this bill, if you remember. No one had this bill until now. It was just announced. And this is where I was bringing a point of copy and paste. Because Ethiopia is struggling with terrorism. Okay? Zambia also wants to bring terrorism here. These laws must be country-specific. Country-specific.
I know that my credits are running, but we had about 5 items to speak about. But quickly, our state of democracy and constitutionalism, according to our principles and national values, where are we, state of democracy and constitutionalism?
Well, I think the state, really, we are not doing well.
Well, the president did say we've continued, Mr. Speaker, we've continued holding elections every other 5 years. That means that we've been respecting our constitution.
Well, in terms of elections, yes, we have. We've been respecting our constitution. Even in terms of by-elections, we have been respecting our constitution. I think there's no problem with that. But other issues, the rule of law within the constitution, the Bill of Rights, we have not been respecting. And this is why you find that a number of people, like I have said, they have moved away from the physical space, going into the cyberspace. Because the physical space is no longer an admirable space for you to conduct business, especially if you are perceived to be a critics of government, an opposition. You can't. You saw what happened in Kasama, where somebody was arrested for aggravated robbery for participating in an election. And after the election, after the by-elections, he was that charge was dropped, and later on, no prosecute on other charges. Would you say that was a genuine charge, or it was a way of clamping down somebody from participating in the electoral space? It was. And this is where we say, where is the rule of law? Because the rule of the Constitution gives me the right to participate in the political space of my country, in the electoral space of my country. It's not only voting, but also to be voted.
Would you pick out any positives from the SONA, the last SONA?
Well, of course, the positives that I can get from there is that he brought out some figures, of which I agreed even from the beginning to say those is true. But we are sorting out the fruits. We need to go in the root cause. You also talked about issues of crimes, substance abuse, those figures, teenage, pregnancies, and so on and so forth. Those are true things. They are there. But why are they there? That is the question we need to answer. Because we should not be proud of giving out figures. We must find solution. Why this SONA is always there is to give progress report on the application of national values. Okay? And how do you give progress is when you find solutions. And not to say, okay, last year we reported 100 gender-based violence. This year we have reported 200. You must be worried that you are not doing a right job.
Mr. Chipenzi, I would like to thank you so much for having made time to appear on tonight's edition of The Assignment.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And I want to appeal to my fellow citizens. Let's take interest in this cyber security and cyber crimes bill, because it will affect you, it will affect me, it will affect your children and those that are to be born. And I can assure you that with this bill will be passed by a simple majority. So it doesn't need a third majority. Whether we talk or what we need is government to be convinced that indeed they need to consult. Otherwise, they can pass it even tomorrow because they have the numbers.
My producer and director, Mavuto Perry, thank you so much. My camera person, Chris, thank you so much. My name is Andrew Mwansa, and see you next week.